welcome back or welcome to my channel. It's Sunshine Lorena and this is going to be a review of Immune by Philip Detmer. So I'm going to be giving you a review of Immune by Philip Detmer, who is the creator of the channel in a nutshell. The details will be in the description down below. I'd like to thank Tanif Collective. This was, I took part in their first YouTube read-along, which is why I have this book here, and also thanks to Hodder Books and also In a Nutshell as well. All the details will be down below and where you can get the book and who all took part in the read-along as well. But yes, I'm just going to jump straight into it. So Immune is a book around your immune system, the journey into the immune system, and everything that's going in there. I'll just give you a little bit of info on the blurb on the back and then we'll kind of go into more detail of the book itself. So you wake up and feel a tickle in your throat, your head hurts, you're mildly annoyed as you get ready to head out the door. Meanwhile, just below your skin an epic war is being fought. Most of us never stop to ask what even is our immune system. Second only to the human brain, it is in its complexity. It's one of the oldest and most critical facets of life on Earth. Without it, you would die within days. In Immune, Philip Detmer, the brains behind one of the most popular science channels on YouTube, takes readers on a journey through the fortress of the human body and its myriad defences. So that's the premise of the book. I am going to go into more detail all about it, but first of all, let's just take a look at this because I just think it is stunning. It has some great end pages as well, and there are great illustrations in here if I can get to one, as you'll see here as well. So it is a really gorgeous book and how it's set out. What he does in this, he very much lays the book out in a way that you are building up your knowledge as you go through. So you start with basics and you build up to the point that you get to the end, that you have the full picture of the immune system and how everything works and goes on. You do not need to be a scientific person, because I am not a scientific person. It is written in a way that is able to be picked up by most people and to be able to be understood in a much easier way, because this is not a textbook at all. It's to really, you know, anyone who's really interested in the immune system and knowing more, this is a really great book to pick up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into some pros of this book. So I liked, first of all, the way it is set out, in the sense that you are kind of being built from like the basics, working your way up so you do get that full picture of the immune system. The second thing that I really like about this book is the way it is written. He writes it in a very accessible way, an accessible language. At times it's very conversational, and he uses analogies as well to kind of help you grasp certain aspects of it. So it is done in a way really to help you understand, and you don't need to be, like I said, a scientific person. So it's written in a really great style. I also love the graphics in this. So every so often you will have a graphic. This is probably not the best one for me to have chosen, but you'll have a graphic that really kind of shows the concept of what is being discussed in that section. So it'll give you details there. Sometimes you'll get a little bit more information around it, but they're really used to help you understand what's being discussed in that section. And they're just really nice illustrations, guys. It's really, really nice illustrations. So I like that as well. Another thing that I really like about this is, like I said, you do build up that picture, and then at the end we get those chapters where we see where things go wrong in the immune system, like certain viruses, certain diseases, etc., and how things actually go wrong. So you see how it actually works. Hey, you get a cold or whatever, you have a viral infection, how it battles that, but what happens when your immune system isn't doing what it should do, and you know, dealing with different things like cancer, etc. So I do like how we build up to that and also see what is wrong, that can go wrong in your immune system and what happens. It was really helpful. I do like that he gives quite a few different examples in this as well, to kind of again help you with that kind of pulling it all together in your brain and understanding what it is about. The other thing that's really good, he doesn't bog you down with too much scientific specific words. Like, you do get the science behind it, but it's done in a way that it's not like a textbook that you are just not going to get it. So he does use scientific terms, uses easier ones for you to understand, and explains a little bit more in detail. There are footnotes throughout, and you'll have a little asterisk and it'll give you a little bit more information on that particular part, and I do think the information in those footnotes are always really useful and interesting. One of my favourite chapters in this was the murder university, and it was around the thymus, the thymus, I still don't know how to pronounce that properly, but it's something in your body that I have literally never heard that mentioned at all, and it was a really interesting chapter. I really enjoyed that. It's one of my favourite ones. And yeah, what I just love about this is, if I feel like this is how science should be done in school to really help people understand it. He writes it in such an interesting way that you are kind of pulled into the kind of almost like a story of what's actually going on in there. So I really liked that. Now for some cons in this book. There's not that many. I'd say it's mostly pros of this, but there's a few things that I think could have been a bit different or done a little bit better. So whilst I did enjoy the footnotes and the extra information, sometimes they were really big, and the footnotes are obviously much smaller writing. Sometimes they go into their page, and I think it would have been better if that was actually worked into the writing of the book, because like I said, those really big ones, it's like much smaller writing, and then you're kind of going off and then you have to come back, and if it could have been fitted into that section a little bit better, I think it would have worked better. And like I said, I did like those chapters at the end, but most of it, there wasn't any sort of illustrations by the time you got to that last section. I think some illustrations would have helped, or a little bit more on case studies. You kind of got a little bit in there, but you were getting bogged down in a lot of writing, I felt. So a few illustrations at the back would have been really kind of useful, I think. And I think it would have been really nice to have gotten a little bit more on what you could do to help your immune system as well. I think that could have been a little bit bigger section. Some other points that I think the book would have enhanced it, they're not cons, but I'd say I think a few things could have enhanced it. So like I said, there is obviously the YouTube channel, and in the YouTube channel obviously there's various different topics covered, but there are some videos on the immune system. And I think what would have been really good is if, when at the time of publishing it, any kind of immune videos, it would have been good in the sections of the book where, you know, there is a YouTube video, that they would put like the name of it, so you could go and like actually go look up the video and maybe see it in like a video format to help you kind of, again, get that kind of idea. It would have been a little more interactive. I just think it would have been like, you know, if you want to see like another explanation, we do have this video on our channel, this is the name. I think that would have been like really helpful. But another thing that I think would have been a little bit more helpful is at the back he does mention that within this he doesn't actually have the bibliography sources, but he has the link. You go on the website and you can look at the sources, but it's broken down into parts, and there's like a few, there's obviously papers, etc. But I think what would be really useful is if it was broken down a little bit more per chapter. So if there was a particular chapter, for example, the one that was around the murder university thymus section, I would know kind of exactly which paper to look at and read up if I wanted to get those extra details. I think that would have been like really helpful. Overall, I think this is a really great book for anyone who's curious to know more about the immune system. I learned a lot by reading this, and knowing a little bit more what's going on in my body. It's really interesting if you want to know a little bit more about the immune system. I also think maybe if somebody's curious about going into like medicine or immunology or something like that, again, I think it's a really useful, interesting book to read. Obviously it's not a textbook, you know, if you actually want to fully study it, then you need to kind of go off and look at those things. But anyone who's really curious about actually finding out more, I think it's really good to look this up and kind of have a starting point. Learned a lot, it was really interesting, and I definitely kind of, it makes me want to know a little bit more about what's going on in my body, and maybe I'll be able to look up at some other books as well. But I think this is really great, written really well in a way that I understood it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I will leave the details in the description below of the YouTube channel, as well as everyone who took part in the read along, the Tunetank Collective. Everyone will be down there, and where you can find the book. I do recommend it. Like I said, if you want to find out more about your immune system, there is a lot of really useful information in there. And yeah, if you have any questions, or if you've read it or you're interested in it, leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button and subscribe button if you want to see more content from me, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.